Hey, welcome back. It's Friday night, May the 12th, 2023. And welcome back to the Hotel Orloff. It's episode 733. And tonight we're going to have a big Friday night bagging and boarding party. I'm going to organize some of these comics that need to be organized, because that's what you do on a Friday evening. So, how have you guys been doing? One thing these comics that are 10 cents from the old days, prior to 1961, comics were 10 cents. They were also a little bit wider, so they won't fit in a standard box. So I'm having to put these into magazine boxes that are really made for magazines. So, the weekend begins, and there was some controversy about the address on the disc that was going out to Clifton Park, New York. Well, that's off, so you should get that by Thursday. So don't worry about that. It's an issue of Jack Armstrong that needs to be put in with the older comics. Jack, okay. These are books we've already looked at. Copy of Master Comics. There's Captain Marvel Jr., who was the main influence on Elvis Presley and his style. Master Comics, let's get that in there. Lone Ranger, Master Comics, all right. Okay. Race for the Moon. We looked at this also. Okay. Oh, something I was wanting to show you. Look at this magazine. It's the official Munsters magazine. Let's look at it. This is not a very high-grade copy of this, but you don't see this magazine come available very often. But anyway, if you're a fan of the Munsters and the Addams Family, like I am, there's a text stories, Grandpa in a Time Machine. Visit to Grandpa's Crypt. This has a wonderful smell of old paper. The history of the Munster family. It's a lot of stories. Little Eddie's Big Game. They even have a Munsters calendar. Probably for the year 1965. Let's see if it's a 1965 calendar. Oh, you can join the Munsters fan club. Look at that. Munsters family calendar. August. Yeah, let's see. There's the date for the Miss Transylvania contest. You see that there? Oh, this is a wonderful photograph. Look at Lily with her wolf fur. As I recall, that was actually Grandpa disguised as a wolf, wasn't it? Could have sworn. Suitable for framing, picture of Herman Munster. This is all right about the time I was born, the mid-60s, kind of the height of the monster craze. I'm trying to find my birth month on this calendar. Look at that. Physician's Day. Yeah, it doesn't look like it has April in it. I guess they thought there'd be another issue after. This was the only issue that ever came out of this. But anyway, I'm in a box of magazines devoted to movie monsters because I wanted to show you one magazine in particular, and I had a reason for that, and I'll show you that in a minute. So anyway, what I was referring to a moment ago, I am doing a series called The Tomb of Terror. It's look at how fat my neck is getting. Look at this. Tomb of Terror. It's a compilation. Each episode is 2 hours long. It's on a DVD-R, a recordable DVD. So it's a 2-hour episode of my edit of cartoons and movie trailers and TV commercials from the past, and music and all kinds of fun stuff from the past. For those of you that are nostalgic for things like this, I now have 11 episodes, and 11 episodes that are 2 hours long, which means 22 hours of fun await you, and each episode is $20, including postage. And I'll put a PayPal address down below, or I'll have my wife do it so you can order it. And so anyway, 2-hour episodes each. It's very much, it's almost exactly the feel of the old 1990s show, The Hypnotic Eye, that I helped with. Okay, so here's a magazine that was amazing. Castle of Frankenstein. This magazine was published all through the 1960s. I think this first issue is from right around 1960. It didn't come out very often, but it was put out by a guy named Calvin Beck. Calvin Beck was an odd guy. Robert Bloch was one of his friends, the famous writer Robert Bloch, and Robert Bloch based his character of Norman Bates in the novel Psycho, before it was made into a movie, on Calvin Beck. Not that his friend, not that the guy that published and edited this magazine was a killer. He was just nuts, like Norman Bates, and had a mother that was a very clingy mother. You can read about that. Probably you could type into, you could probably just get on the internet and type in Calvin Beck, Norman Bates, and you can read about that. But I've told that story now about 15 times here, so you can... This was right when the pandemic happened, and we were all housebound. My wife ordered some issues of Castle of Frankenstein that I didn't have. I think I now have the complete collection from mycomicshop.com, and that was so wonderful of her. Anyway, I remember in those days of the pandemic, the mail was moving so slow, and it went from across town. MyComicShop.com was in the same town that I lived in, Lone Star Comics. So it left Texas, it went up to Kansas, it went to all these different states. I would track it, and it would finally come back to me. It took weeks and weeks, because I guess a lot of the postal employees were not coming to work or something. But anyway, the mail is moving very fast now. It's incredibly lightning fast. I mean, a box will leave Mesa, Arizona on a Saturday afternoon, and then there's Sunday, and then Monday morning it arrives here in Germany on my doorstep. We're here in Heidelberg, Germany. Anyway, so this is Castle of Frankenstein. There's a painting of Christopher Lee. There's a guy named Larry Ivy that painted a lot of these covers. And see, that's very much a trademark thing. They had the little film strip going across the bottom with the contents of the magazine. This is obviously one of those mini magazines that imitated, in the wake of Famous Monsters of Filmland, was the big guy, the big magazine that came out in the late 50s. But this magazine came out, here's issue 3, and it didn't have the circulation of Famous Monsters, but it had great writing, because Calvin Beck may have been nuts, and his mother may have wanted to go to every party that he went to and sit in every college class he went to, because she was just like Norman Bates' mom, just nuts. But he was a great writer, and he had a true love for these monster movies. So that's issue 3. These are still surprisingly affordable. You could still get them on mycomicshop.com relatively inexpensively. Here's issue 4 with this great Dracula picture. Just a moment. 1 minute, ladies and gentlemen. I just remembered something. Where did I put that stuff? Oh, I don't know. Is it over here? Okay, never mind. I'm losing my mind, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. Okay, issue 5. Oh, this one doesn't have a board on the back, so I'll show you the back cover, how they kind of. So, here's issue 6. With a Dracula back cover, right? See, now by issue 7, they're really trying to make this look like one of the gossip magazines of the time. Like that a lot of housewives would pick up at the supermarket. Does Liz know about the night that Burton turned into a monster? There's a lot of those old magazines from the 60s would have news about Elizabeth Taylor and her husband Richard Burton and how they were getting along and everything. But anyway, so Lugosi versus Lee. This one's open up, so let's take a look inside. That's wonderful. Look at that back cover. So this issue is, oh, the wonderful smell of the old paper. This issue is from where do you say that, man? Come on. It says it's published, at this point it was published quarterly, so it came out 4 times a year, and I am not, the date's in here somewhere. Anyway, point is I wanted to show you they have these little capsule reviews of, it's the Frankenstein movie guide, and they have little short reviews of different movies that would come on television, and you'd be able to find out about them, because you, and then years later, when the Psychotronic Guide to Film came out in the 80s, written by Michael Weldon, he used this magazine as his inspiration on the little capsule reviews of what he called psychotronic films, which were horror films and genre films. But anyway, this is, it's like Famous Monsters, except the problem, here's more of these little capsule reviews, except Famous Monsters was written to Forrest J. Ackerman, who put out Famous Monsters, kind of, it was called the Frankenstein TV Movie Guide. So when these movies showed up on late night television, you know a little bit about them. But Forrest J. Ackerman wrote like he was writing to 7-year-olds, and even 7-year-olds were insulted by the bad jokes and puns, and it just came across as, even what he did great was he had this huge collection of stills. And he had the ultimate collection of all this stuff, and he truly loved it. And he brought back people like Lugosi and Lon Chaney, Boris Karloff, all these people that had been kind of forgotten became stars in Famous Monsters of Filmland, and some of them were still alive. Like Boris Karloff got a little bit in his elder years, a little bit of a real resurgence in his career. He even got his own TV show that he hosted called Thriller, Boris Karloff's Thriller. There was even a Boris Karloff comic book, and that was because of these monster magazines. But this one was a lot more fun to read than Famous Monsters. It's just Famous Monsters had a better look, a better production design. Although this is no slouch. Here's imagine seeing this on a magazine stand, looking at you. This is issue 8. So by now, Man from U.N.C.L.'s on the air. You can tell. That last one, this one's 8, and the last one was 7. Yeah, so we have all of them so far. And by this point, Batman, the TV series, was on the air. So this is I think this was like one of the best sellers, that came out of this magazine, and because everyone was out of their mind over Batman when that series came on in January of 1966. And then it was followed up by the Green Hornet. And there's a stamp on here. This magazine is from the West Side Magazine Exchange, 220 South Perry in Peony City, Oklahoma. And someone wrote 20 cents on the Green Hornet's mask. And I thought I had a better copy of that one, but I don't know. I think I have some others in another box. I think I have a better copy of this one. This one is in pretty bad shape. But, Castle of Frankenstein, and then another great magazine later called the Monster Times, they gave Star Trek attention. Of course, Monster Times didn't start till 1972. This is when Star Trek was on the TV, and there's Leonard Nimoy on the cover. Famous Monsters of Filmland, as far as I know, never even mentioned Star Trek while it was on the air. And the first time Star Trek was mentioned was when the movie came out in 1979. And why that is, I don't know, because there were lots of monsters on Star Trek. Something, who knows? I know that Forrest J. Ackerman, who put out Famous Monsters, had been a writer's agent. And maybe he didn't like Gene Roddenberry or had some problem with him or something. But I don't know. This one's in great shape. Well, other than a little spine tick. This one was also a little bit more kind of done by younger people, so it kind of has a little bit of the counterculture kind of thing. A magazine calculated to blow your mind. So they're kind of aiming to a college audience more with this than Famous Monsters that was aiming more at kids and younger kids. Here's number 12. And I just got one. I actually now have 3 copies of this because John Goris sent me a copy, and that was what I was looking for over here. I know it's here in the room somewhere, but I don't have time to look for it right now because I have so little memory on my phone that this show won't go longer than an hour and 10 minutes or so. Here's issue 14. It says Star Trek is back. That probably means it's back for the 2nd or 3rd season. Probably the 3rd season. It was a big... It was looking like it would be canceled after the 2nd season, and there was a huge letter-writing campaign, and all these fans convinced NBC to let Star Trek go on for a 3rd season. But unfortunately, the 3rd season, everyone agrees that it was just... There's a date stamp on there. That's what I'm trying to show you on the leg of the astronaut. September 11th, 1969. The 3rd season is although wonderful because it's Star Trek, it's considered to be the lesser of the 3 seasons because they had some pretty episodes considered clunkers. Sometimes they had these comic stories in here, and sometimes they were artists that later, see there it's Frank Bruner, who later became the artist of he did some great stuff for Marvel in the 70s, the Man-Thing and stuff like that, right? But this is him when he's, probably right out of high school, I guess. This is 1969. They had Lynn Carter writing for the magazine. It's a little bit of a, that doesn't look good. It's more like almost like it's not printed on as high quality paper as Famous Monsters would have been. It's almost has a little bit of a Charlton kind of thing where the paper's shipping. But you can see the text is a lot more dense, and if you were to read it, it's a lot more literate than Famous Monsters. I mean, it's just a great magazine. It's like famous monster. I'm sorry, Castle of Frankenstein. We're up to issue 14. Now, this magazine kept publishing right through the 1970s. My mom didn't like me buying these monster magazines, and I would see this magazine on the stands, and I was like, can I buy it? And she didn't want me buying. She'd look at the magazines, and usually she'd say no. Sometimes she'd say, yeah, you can have this one. It doesn't look as horrible as the other ones you've shown me. But I think she said you can't start buying these magazines until, I don't know if she said it until I was 10 or I was 12. But anyway, and right about the time I turned 12, this magazine stopped publishing in the mid-1970s. So did the Monster Times. It stopped publishing, I think, summer of 76. So right when it was suddenly I'd reached the age where I could buy these magazines without asking my mom, then they stopped publishing. Famous Monsters kept going for a little while. Anyway, so that was one of the crushing things about is when this magazine went, because it was a cool magazine. Okay, now this is issue 15. It's a Witches and Demons issue. It's got the Yellow Submarine on the back, so and then this issue is pretty cool. You got Barnabas Collins from Dark Shadows. And they started having these wraparound painted covers about this time. So that became something very distinctive about Castle of Frankenstein. See, it's a wraparound cover. And more artwork. And this is... oh, it's very early Bernie Wrightson art. So, you know, those of you that are comic book snobs that don't like to buy magazines, you got to get this because it has Bernie Wrightson art. Later would go on to do the Swamp Thing. So this is a great monster magazine. Obviously, publishers had very good taste in comic art. Oh, there's a whole article on Psycho in here, which is funny because, like I said, it was this magazine was put out by the real Norman Bates, and everybody in his circle of friends knew that Robert Bloch had based Norman Bates on him, and he knew it too. It was just a little private joke. Okay, we're into the 1970s at this point. So we're into the 70s. There's the Star Trek crew. This one I remember seeing on the newsstand like it was yesterday, because I'd seen Seventh Voyage of Sinbad on television when we lived in Virginia. This is a wraparound cover. It's all the Ray Harryhausen, a lot of the Ray Harryhausen monsters. So I have a couple of copies of that. This one I got for just $5. I couldn't leave it there in Duncanville Books. Okay, we're getting towards the end. Man, I could really do an upgrade on this issue, number 20. Maybe I shouldn't be telling you guys about this magazine, because then everyone's going to be out buying them, and then I won't be able to get them. But this one you can see it has some damage to the front cover. But, you know, if you haven't bought them by now, you're probably never going to buy them. I don't know how. You can't. Okay, so that was what? 20. Okay, here's 21. This is the Golden Voyage of Sinbad. It wraps around to that wonderful image. And then 23, Planet of the Apes cover. By that point, Planet of the Apes had premiered on television on the CBS network on their Friday night movies. They ran Planet of the Apes, and a few weeks later they ran Beneath the Planet of the Apes. They ran all 5, and it became a huge, big deal at my elementary school, and I think every elementary school in the country. All the kids became nuts for Planet of the Apes. We were too young to have seen them in the theaters, and now we're seeing them on television, and it was wonderful, and everyone was obsessed with that. Okay, these are out of order. Okay, so that's issue 22. Okay, and this one. Okay, out of order. Okay, this is not a very good painting of Linda Blair, and that's because they were trying to get this on the newsstand as quickly as possible. So they went to the movies and just drew it from memory, from what they saw on the movie screen, to get this magazine out quickly, so they'd be the first one on the newsstand with what she looked like. But it's not exactly a very good drawing or painting. Let's see, because they tried to keep it a secret. And okay, so then I actually have 2 copies of the Blood of the Apes issue. Excuse me. And then, so that was. Oh my gosh. Why are these out of order? Ridiculous. Okay, 24. Boris Karloff from Tower of London. I've got a Dracula collage in the back. Okay, and then the last issue was this one with the time machine, all right? And it wraps around to this. Now, oh, and here's an annual that came out from 1967 Fear book. So that's the original run of Castle of Frankenstein. In the 1990s, not the original people, but some other people bought the name Castle of Frankenstein and put out about 10 issues, I think, where they had the original logo at the top, and they even got Larry Ivy to come back and paint some of the covers. Larry Ivy, who had painted some of these early covers like this, he came back and painted some of them in the 1990s. And I saw those on the newsstand, and then I opened them up, and they didn't look right. It was not the same quality as what I remembered from the 1970s. I never bought any of them, and then it went out of business. Anyway, recently there was an announcement that Castle of Frankenstein was coming back again. So I was cautiously optimistic, because it's different people now. So the last one that I had, as I said, that I approved of was issue 25, and this is probably from about, 1975 or so. Well, so they brought it back. I missed the first issue, but so that was 25. Now this one just came out really last week. It's number 37. 50 years later, this comes out now. You tell me, does that look pretty much like what you've been looking at? So again, it's the Lost Time Machine 2. That what would have happened if George Pal had made Time Machine 2? So I showed you this the other day, but I'll show it to you again. It's they're really smart to put the UPC code on the back, because it makes it look very vintage without that thing there ruining it. Inside, you open it up, the print's tiny, just like the original, which is authentic looking, even though as you get older, the tiny print is a little rough around your eyes. Now it's a square bound magazine. It looks pretty authentic and true to what, and I haven't yet read it, but anyway, I'm proud to put this in this box next to the original Castle of Frankenstein. So this is something that you can buy. You could contact Kevin Johnson at a great store in Mesa, Arizona. You can look it up. Call it's called Gotham City Comics. He could order a copy of this for you. I think he has one or two, or I think he has one, because one of them Meyer bought. Meyer, you got to watch the Meyer Greenblatt channel. He's got a great channel. Anyway, so it's going in there. Fantastic. And then the next thing in there is Shriek, which is a magazine hardly anyone's heard of unless they're really into monster magazines. Shriek. Anyway, and I'm into old monster magazines. Now, that's what I wanted to show you as far as Castle of Frankenstein goes. What else is going on here? All right. I've got some comics to go through. That was all right. We're supposed to be bagging and boarding this evening, all right? So, okay. Let's see what we've got here. I've got a bunch of books, so I've got a bag and board. Let's see what I've got here. Oh, here's some stuff from Free Comic Book Day last week. Oh. Anyway, there's a Frank Frazetta book that came out. Except inside, it's not Frank Frazetta art. Oh, these are characters that Frank Frazetta created, and other people have drawn inside. Okay, in fact, there's no Frank Frazetta art inside the book, but they have Frank. It's the Frazetta verse. Okay, that's cool. Put that there. What else we got? Okay. Here's a copy of Justice Incorporated. Justice from the creator of Doc Savage, Kenneth Robeson. This was mid-1970s DC. Jack Kirby had left Marvel and gone over to DC, and this is about Kirby's last gasp at DC before he headed back to Marvel. And started doing a lot of covers for them. It's terrible how he was treated in his last days. Some of these books are too fat. Okay. Yeah, these Gold Key books are too fat to put in these comic boxes, so I'm gonna have to put them over here. Yeah, Gold Key, even into the 60s, even into the 12-cent era, made their comics very wide and okay. All right, so let's get Justice Incorporated into a bag. Now here's yikes. I see what happened here. Well, this one is in mint condition. Fantastic Four, number 17. This is a piece of history. The cover is no longer attached. There is no back cover. But even in this terrible condition, this is an early issue of the Fantastic Four. One of my favorite comics. In my opinion, the Fantastic Four was the best of the Marvel characters. Those people that only know Marvel from movies probably think Fantastic Four is just garbage, because 20th Century Fox did 2 movies and then they did another one unrelated. They were all terrible, really terrible compared to this source material. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. The book is intact. It just, the back cover is gone, and well, it's not technically intact, but the interior is intact. And it's wonderful to read the real stuff that start this. See, people that watch the movies think Iron Man must have been the first character, and then everyone else is like spun out of Iron Man. Spider-Man learns from Iron Man and gets his costume from Iron Man. That's not the way it was. Iron Man was a lower level character in the original comics. Fantastic Four, everything in the Marvel comics came from the Fantastic Four. That was the original 60s comic and the resurgence of the Marvel characters. And Spider-Man, you know, when Spider-Man first started, he was trying to join the Fantastic Four and become a fifth member. So it was all, everything came from that. And that's a great comic. The 60s Fantastic Four, and into the 70s a bit too. Okay. Here's an issue of Black Hawk from the 70s with they're kind of more disco-y looking outfits. Black Hawk, of course, goes back to the 1940s. But courtesy of Steve, Charlton 66, he sent me for my birthday a bunch of bags and boards. So that's allowing us to have this wonderful time together on this Friday night. Tomorrow is just going to be a great day. I'm going to wake up. There'll be some great stuff on. Dr. Silverage has his live show. And then right about the time that ends, Right Side Broadcasting is going to go live with all-day coverage of the Donald Trump rally in Des Moines. And Donald Trump's coming right hot and heavy off of tearing CNN apart the other night. That was great and hilarious. And now it's going to be a lot of fun. Here's Anthro number 2, a DC caveman comic from the 60s when Hot Wheels was first starting. Look at all those original Hot Wheels cars from the birth of Hot Wheels, 1969. And the artwork inside is wonderful. Man. It's just beyond words how great it is to be surrounded by vintage comic books and old music from the drive-in movie theater. But we are in dire times, and we definitely need to realize that we need to spend time in prayer. In fact, I'm going to starting, and I'm serious about this, I'm going to start every episode with a prayer for our country and for everything. This, I'm not sure if I have this. I got this like either inexpensively or possibly free, but it's the 6th issue of Edgar Rice Burroughs' Weird Worlds. And I thought I worked really hard back in the late 90s to get a complete set of these because I really love these characters like David Ennis. The other characters other than Tarzan, that here's the Disney Pirates of the Caribbean model kits from the early 70s. And especially John Carter, Warlord of Mars, was and this is one of the John Carter Warlord of Mars stories. I've always loved Edgar Rice Burroughs, and I had to go back and reread some of those books maybe this summer. I gotta all right, Weird Worlds. Okay. In the mid-70s, there was a rival company that started up to compete with Marvel, and it only lasted a little while. Of course, I'm talking about Atlas Seaboard, Atlas Comics. And this is the Scorpion #2. I have a lot of them. I don't have a complete set, and I didn't think I had Scorpion #2. They tried to... Martin Goodman, the publisher of Marvel, retired, and he expected his son, Chip Goodman, to be his successor and take over as publisher of Marvel. Instead, they put Stan Lee in as the publisher, and he was plenty upset. So he said, to heck with you, I'll go start my own new publishing company, and I'll have my son Chip run it, and we'll run Marvel out of business, because I know how to put together a comic company. And so he hired the best artists, I think with the promise that they'd get their original artwork back, and some great writers to come up with characters that would be kind of imitations of Marvel, but a little bit different. And me as a 10-year-old, I was excited that I was in on the ground floor of this new revolutionary company, but it didn't last very long. I think none of these titles lasted more than 4 issues, as I recall. This is a comic that you would have gotten free as a kid if you were flying on American Airlines. No, was it American Airlines? Yeah, American Airlines. So, you know, they'd give you a free magazine for the adults to read. They'd have a free comic book for the kids to read. And so here, I guess you could draw your own back cover. Draw Casper and everything. But there's Spooky and his girlfriend. And all about your flight crew and all about your stewardess. You can find out about her. What a wonderful thing. I don't know if I was ever given a free comic book on an airplane. I don't think I was. But I'll put this with my Harvey comics. Harvey, of course, famous for Wendy the Good Little Witch, and Casper, Richie Rich, Hot Stuff. Marketing supernatural characters to 5-year-olds. Devils, witches, and ghosts. And extremely wealthy, rich, billionaire kids. Those comics were wonderful. Here's from 1969, Mandrake the Magician beating up some weird aliens. And of course, everybody that wants to become a fist-fighting magician is also interested in fishing, of course. You could go fishing in that outfit with the top hat. Great comic. Everyone loves it. Uh-oh. Drew the dog is here to visit you. Anyway. King features. Let's get this in a bag and board. All courtesy of Charlton 66, the amazing Charlton 66. Tune in to his YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, hold on a moment. What else do we have here? Okay, I don't have a Golden Age bag. These 1960s Gold Key comics are going to be too wide to put into a Silver Age bag. So I'm going to have to wait till I get some wider bags for this. Don't have the bags, ladies and gentlemen, for that. No comic stores around where I'm at. Oh, this was an issue of House of Mystery. Later would become a straight horror comic. At this point, they're still doing superheroes. And this is a comic called Dial H for Hero. He would dial this magic dial, and it would turn him into a different superhero. And the thing is, kids were encouraged to send in their own designs for superheroes, and then they could see Robbie Reed, right? Yeah, Robbie Reed. He would turn into maybe the superhero you created. But my older brother Mike, is 10 years older than me. Look at the great Saturday morning cartoon lineup from that time period. He bought comic books, and I started getting into comic books in the early 70s, and it's like I knew he had all these comics, and he said, well, they all got thrown away, but the things I was most proud of was I had the entire set of Dial H for Hero. He didn't really know it was in the House of Mystery comic. And so in the 1970s, I tried my best to, whenever I was, when Lone Star Comics opened, I wanted to get all the Dial H for Heroes because I figured that was my birthright. I was supposed to inherit those comics. They weren't supposed to be thrown away. They were supposed to be passed down to me, just like all the other cool 60s toys that my brothers had, like the Aurora model racing cars and teddy bears and records, but the comics didn't survive. And I thought, I've got to get as many of these 60s Dial H for Hero and these war comics because those were the comics that probably my older brothers had that disappeared. And anyway, so this comic is in honor of my brother Mike. I don't know. I think he's in South Texas somewhere. He might be doing real estate. I am out of touch with my brother. It's a horrible thing. Hopefully I will be back in touch with him at some point. Life deals you some weird cards, man. My dog is here licking listen to me. She's licking her lips. So we're going to take her and feed her. Oh, I forget who it was that was asking me. Where was I getting the drive-in music? Scoot over, Drew. I'll take you down and feed you. Okay, I'll show you the channel that you've got to go to. Okay. Hold on a second.
Harvey's 2 for $5 mix and match breakfast starts your day with made-from-scratch sausage and egg.
Okay. It's this channel here. Wiley Vision Music. Wiley, Wiley, Vision Music. And he has some playlists. Golden Book video, that's cool. 45 videos of Gumby music from the Gumby animated films. And then he's got this one. He has 5 Filmac Drive-In Intermission Clock soundtrack. So it's the actual music that was used in the drive-in movie theaters, but it doesn't have the voices dubbed over that say, and now on with the show, and hurry to the intermission to get your snacks and drinks. The voices aren't on there. It's just the music. So that's what I was playing the other week, and someone said, "Where do you get that music?" And I think they were asking my wife, and she said she'd ask me, and no, I'm telling you. Okay. I fed the dog dinner, but she must need more, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, Drew, let's go eat. Then we'll go back and look at more comics, ladies and gentlemen. I might do a quick live stream very early tomorrow morning or another episode in the morning, but mostly I'm going to be mostly I will be watching the Donald Trump rally all day. Hold on a second. The Tomb of Terror, ladies and gentlemen. I just started episode 11. Oh, I've got more food that I just bought her. This is part of episode 11. A little teaser of what wonderfulness you'll see if you order an episode 11. Okay. Oh, shoot, I bought Purina. I didn't mean to do that. Oh, I better not tell my wife. I hear Purina's not good for dogs. Man, oh boy, I shouldn't have gotten Purina. I didn't even see that it was Purina. Have you guys heard that same stuff? I'm just gonna give it. I just mixed this with the other food. Where are the scissors? I mean, the food, it's like the biggest dog food, cat food brand in the world. It can't be that bad, or could it? I mean, McDonald's is a pretty big brand, and it's not good for people to eat. I don't know. Well, she's eating it. She likes it. Hey, Mikey. It's like life cereal, right? I don't know. I'm shaving it. Should I grow my beard back or what? What do you guys think? You grow the beard to hide how fat your face has become. And you think you're doing a good job of hiding it. And then you realize maybe if I just lost weight, that would be the actual real solution. Okay. Ham and egg flavor with potato and cheese. That's exactly what wolves eat in the wild. So she should love this. There you go, Drew. She's eating it. It's better that she eat that than a 60-year-old comic book. Here's Pete the cat. All right. I don't know. Every single episode, I'm interrupted to feed the dog. It's like never seems to fail. It never happens on CNN. I never see the CNN people get up in the middle of a broadcast to go feed the dog. But of course, I don't watch CNN because it's a nest of lying vipers. But really, I never saw it on the Johnny Carson show. He's interviewing a guest, and suddenly his dog comes up, and he's got to go feed the. Never saw it happen. Not one time. Okay. Well, look at this. It's a reprint of the first appearance of Poison Ivy in Batman from the 1960s. How do you tell it's a reprint and not the original? Because the original would say 12 cents instead of $3.99, which shows you how much the value of money has changed since the 60s, which is kind of depressing. And this is a reprint of an even older book when comics were also 12 cents. This would have been more around the Kennedy administration. Or, did DC? See, DC's smart enough to hide the UPC code that on the back. Marvel puts it here but tries to hide it by making it thin, but it still mars the cover. And of course, in the first issue of X-Men is not something almost anyone could afford. Last time I saw a real issue of X-Men #1, I was at my friend's. My friend in college. He was filming a film for his. He was in film school, and he was filming a movie, and we were helping out. We were the film crew, and he had a stage created in his older brother's garage, and there was a sack of a paper grocery sack of comics, mostly war comics, on the floor of the garage, and on the top was X-Men #1. I couldn't believe it, but it had a little scorch mark right here. And then I was told the story about how several years before, his ex-girlfriend, who is now in prison, had burned his house down in a jealous rage because he was, I guess, a crazy college guy that she must have been pretty upset at him. Most women don't do that, but anyway, that happened, and so he had an X-Men #1 with a scorched corner because of that woman. But X-Men #1's worth a lot of money, obviously, as you know. Okay. Here's another replica comic of an older comic. In this case from the early 70s. Strange Tales #178, reprinting Orloff. The original one would have probably said 25 cents. Now it's, of course, comics are $3.99. So inside this will have the original ads and everything. You've got the UPC code there. One problem with these reprints is they have too much space at the top. That's another way you can instantly tell it's a reprint. Again, see all this extra space at the top, which would not have been there in the original. DC prints it more accurately. You know, just looking at this looks pretty authentic. The only thing that's off is the price tag, the price on it. And another example of these, this is like the big new thing in the comic book publishing industry, to reprint old comics with the original ads and everything. This is reprinting the Avengers with the first appearance of Kang the Conqueror, who's now one of the big villains in the in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Although I hear they have to recast him because the actor in real life, I think he got in trouble or arrested for beating his wife or something, and so Disney is thinking of recasting Kang the Conqueror for that reason. Anyway, this is a reprint of the Avengers #8, and that's a sign that it's a reprint. Of course, the price tag is a sign, and there's a little too much space up here. And of course, it wouldn't be printed on slick paper inside. It would have been on newsprint, like that Fantastic Four I showed you. But all the ads are reprinted as they originally appeared, including the ad on the back. So it's a lot of fun to read this. It's almost the experience of reading this comic back then. Including, the ad for Yubiwaza. The boys, men, I'll help you master Yubiwaza. Yubiwaza is the secret, amazingly easy art of self-defense that turns just one finger of your hands into a potent weapon of defense without any bodily contact. So anyway, but look at this ad here for these other books on sale that month. So it's a pretty neat idea to reprint the old books with the original ads. And this, of course, originally came out in... I left my magnifying glass downstairs. Can't read anything. I think this would have been about, 1963? Anyway, this would have been a comic that came out when Kennedy was president. If you heard Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Is running for president, the Democrat ticket, and that would be something else. He completely knows what happened to his, that would be his uncle, right? John F. Kennedy would be his uncle. And he's completely aware the Democrats are a little scared of him. They're not going to let Biden debate him because they know he would destroy him. Anyone would destroy him. Okay. I've got some kind of beat up comics here, but it's all right. All right. This one is a Dick Tracy comic from Harvey. The cover is gone, but I love the splash page. And inside it's newspaper comic strip reprints. So these splash pages are created for the comic, and then it goes straight into newspaper comic strip reprints. But they'd have to create some new art for the splash page. So it's just really fun. I always have loved Dick Tracy. Always loved Dick Tracy, but of course it was something from my father's generation. But I always enjoyed whenever I could get my hands on old reprints of Dick. Sorry, I just ate dinner. Still burping. Okay. Got some DC war comics. The Unknown Soldier. These war comics from the 1970s and 60s that DC put out. The Unknown Soldier was a master of disguise. His face was completely ruined, like the Phantom of the Opera. He basically didn't have a face, just two slits for a nose, and he was just like complete burn victim. But he wore these bandages, and then he could put on any mask and become, well, it's basically like that movie Dark Man. That was really inspired by The Unknown Soldier. And these were comics I loved, and I got some new issues of that. Well, they're not new, they're from back then. Okay. What else we got here? Here's some other books that aren't going to fit in the bags that Steve sent me because they're wider till I can get to, and I'm not getting out of town anytime soon with a bad radiator. Here's Daffy Duck about to swat Sputnik with a tennis racket. I was saying the other night, these covers on these funny animal comics are hardly ever funny, but I guess that's kind of amusing, or at least topical, with what was going on in the news then. The Russians got the first satellite in space called Sputnik, and where did the remote go? Oh, here we go. All right. All righty. Man, it's the most. Back then, kids got these air rifles for Christmas. There wasn't any worry. Kids knew how to handle guns. It was not, it's part of our heritage, but now people are demonizing guns. This is wonderful. Daffy Duck. Still 10 cents, so that means this is prior to the end of 1961 when comics, very end of 1961, comics went up 2 cents to 12 cents. It was an outrage. All the kids were upset and didn't want to pay that extra money. And the sales of comics plummeted. Boys did not want to pay that extra. Here's Sergeant Bilko. This is a sitcom. The Flintstones was inspired by the live-action sitcom The Honeymooners. Scooby-Doo was inspired by the live-action sitcom Dobie Gillis. Top Cat was inspired by the live-action sitcom Sergeant Bilko with Phil Silvers. So, anyway. A wonderful DC comic, but it's from the 10-cent era, so this is going to be a little too wide, I know, to fit in these bags. Let me demonstrate. See, if I tried to fit this in this bag, it's just a little too wide, slightly. So I'll have to wait on that as well. Look at this issue of Weird War, number 88. Doesn't that look like Iggy Pop, or what Iggy Pop looks like today on the cover? I think. Okay. Let's put the war bucks over here. Yeah, I don't know what this is. A new comic. This was sent to me free because I just happened to notice it and say, what a beautiful cover. That, I mean, it's just a really great painting. So it was just sent to me free. It's a modern comic. I make fun of modern comics, but let's look inside of it, because maybe the inside looks good too. I mean, is it possible that a new comic could be good? Yes, it is. In fact, I see that Junkyard Joe does really look like a great new book, and Stray Dogs was great. See, they're advertising the soundtrack for Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a new movie in theaters now. So this is actually a variant edition. So this isn't the real cover; it's some variant cover. One thing about modern comics is there aren't many words. See, giant pictures without any words. Whole page with hardly any words. Maybe it's okay. But it's just if you're spending, how much is this? This is $3.99. If you're spending $3.99, or in this case a little bit more than $3.99 to pay for the fact that it's a variant cover. Look at this page here. It's just a reproduction of a page from a lab. I don't know. That's kind of a wonky looking face on Rogue there. The cover is beautiful. That's all that most people really worry about on these new books is the covers. But it's cool. I do love that cover. I do think that's good. I don't know who that artist is. Someone will be able to tell me. I bet that the Crypt Keeper of Castle Hills will instantly be able to tell me who that artist is, because he's up on things. All right. From the CBS television network, it's Heckle and Jekyll. Just tons of fun. This is the 10-cent era. I'm going to see if it'll fit in one of these bags. Hold on. I am not sure. I'm not confident. But it might, actually. Some books are made a little bit... Yeah, it fits fine, actually. Because some small like this company, Pines, no one's ever heard. I've never even heard of this comic book company. They must print the book a little bit thinner, just maybe to save money, possibly. That sounds likely. But Heckle and Jekyll was a... Yeah, I loved Heckle and Jekyll. These unknown soldiers over here. Oh. This is an early Superman, the man who married Lois Lane, 136. Oh, wow. It's incredible, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. This is my time period of Superman. And look at this stuff. So yeah, build your own hot rod. Tomorrow, the best way to watch the Trump rally will be on the Right Side Broadcasting Network, but watch it on Rumble. Rumble is an alternative platform to YouTube, and I've been thinking about putting videos over there. Graphic Man, who runs the Four Color Fossils show on Wednesday, he puts his stuff up on both platforms, but he'll have like 300 or something views of the show on YouTube, and then, yeah, this is too wide for these bags. And over on Rumble, he'll have like 4 views. So it's not as many people over there, but there's less censorship, less Marxist censorship on Rumble. So that's where people go to put shows on of a political point of view. It's not as many comic book people over there, but we could go over there and take over that. But he says it takes like a day to get your show posted on Rumble. So I don't know. Where's my remote? You're kidding me. Okay. All right. So when I open these books, I get rid of the tape. I'll put new tape on later, but I don't want to risk the tape damaging the covers. Here's some old Harvey books. Here's a Harvey Blondie comic, also from the 10-cent era. Harvey later on would just become exclusively their own characters. Casper, Hot Stuff, Richie Rich, Wendy. But at this point, they were still doing other licensed characters. Tex Smith will teach you how to play the harmonica. There's an atomic smoke bomb. Yeah. This is the same as that Dick Tracy book. This is a new panel created as a splash to introduce these newspapers. You can see these are just newspaper panels. They're all the same size. They were meant for the newspaper. So it was the Harvey Jack-in-the-Box guy.